You know, I have really tried to keep a positive outlook on the Acolyte. I really try to keep things on my channel and on my podcast. By the way, this is the Cal Westis Podcast. I forgot to introduce the show. This is the Cal Westis Podcast. Normally, I don't post on YouTube. Normally, I post on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. There's links in the description below. This week, I felt like this was something I needed to put out on my channel to really kind of clear the air with how I feel about the Acolyte, because before I was uncertain. I didn't like it. And then I liked it, and then I didn't like it, and then I liked it, and I finally made up my mind because episode 7 convinced me that this show is bad. It's a bad show, like through and through. Very rarely do I take notes or little bullet points on like shows as I watch them and as I am digesting the information that it's giving me. But after episode 7 of The Acolyte, I literally jotted down an entire list of things that I just really despised about the show, and about the episode in particular. And I just don't understand the decisions made. I just don't get it. I don't think they make any sense at all. I have a whole list. It's right here. Here you go. Boom. Side camera. Not just one, but two. The power of one, the power of two, the power of many. The first thing I have on this list is character motivations. That was a huge, huge issue with this show and the way that it's formatted, because we're getting flashbacks and we're getting bits of the story that are really important to understanding these characters that the show is introducing us with, and you know, the overall plot and the villains that it's introducing. Like character motivations are important. Like always, they're always very important because it's how we understand our characters. It's how we can get behind them, root for them, root against them. Like it's everything. And one major issue with this show is that we don't fully understand our characters' motivations until the second to last episode. Like the flashback episode that we got in episode 3 of The Acolyte, it gave us a little bit of information. There were some nuggets in there. But episode 7 is the one that really kind of delivers on this whole dark past on Brendock. And it's weak sauce, bro. Like, yeah, I'm throwing in weak sauce. That's the insult I chose. I don't know why I chose that insult, but it's weak sauce. The fact that Torben kills himself. I don't know if I can say that on YouTube. The fact that Torben decides to drink the poison is ridiculous to me. Now that I know why he did it, what exactly did he do that was so bad that made him want to? I don't get it. Torben's main motivation for wanting to go and save the girls or whatever also doesn't make any sense, because he just wants to go back to the temple. And I have a couple things about that really don't line up with pre-established Star Wars lore, okay? And I get that the Acolyte wants to go out and wants to do new things. It wants to, you know, be inventive, and I'm all for that. I'm all for new ideas in Star Wars. I actually think that's been a really big problem, is a lack of new ideas in Star Wars for a lot of things recently. Go for it, Disney. But what I don't get is why he wants to go back to the temple so bad. Like, if we watch the Clone Wars, right? Clone Wars is amazing. One of the main characters is Ahsoka Tano, greatest Star Wars character of all time, okay? I will die on that hill. Ahsoka always wants to go out on mission. Anakin always wants to go out on mission. Even Obi-Wan in some of the books that take place before The Phantom Menace always wants to go out on mission. Like, when Jedi are young, they're ambitious. They want to go out. They want to fight. They want to, you know, protect the galaxy very actively. They don't want to be sitting in council rooms all the time. Blah, 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 blah. They don't want to be talking. So I don't understand why Torben wants to go back to the temple so bad. Like, they never explained that. And on top of that, it's not like they've been on this planet for years or even months. He says several weeks. So what is that? Like, maybe a month and a half? Like, when I hear several weeks, I hear over 4, because that's a month. 7 weeks, month and a half. That's not that long to be on a mission, bro. Like, I just don't understand why he wants to get back to the temple so bad. They never explain it, and it's not like they've been at war. Like, if they were fighting these like pirates or whatever, or they were at war with this witch cult, and he was like, I want to get back to the temple, like I want to go home. Like, if he was a soldier with PTSD or whatever, and he wants to go home, get it. But he's not. Like, they're just wandering through the woods with their metal detectors, trying to find the Force virgins, And then he's like, I really want to go home. So he hops on the speeder and rashly goes into it. Then Soul comes with him. He stabs the witch, which what the heck was the witch even doing in the first place? And then, like, all of a sudden, it's just, like, that's it? Like, that was the bad thing? Like, all these witches ended up dead. Because why? And then the way that the witches died also doesn't make any sense. They took over Kelnaka's mind, okay? And Kelnaka was mind-controlled, and then he fought the Jedi, which was maybe, like, one of the few very cool parts of this episode. I actually really liked the Wookiee fight. I thought that was cool. I was entertained. But why did the witches die afterwards? Like, when Endara comes in and she heals the mind of Kelnaka, all the witches just freaking slump over. Are they dead? Like, did they faint? Are they, like, what happened? Like, did their brains get fried? Like, no explanation whatsoever. And then on top of that, why did the witches turn into, like, this, just spit. Why did the witches turn into this, like, really, like, Dementor-looking magic thing? They never explained what that was. Like, we saw one of them teleport and that kind of thing, but it looked really evil, and I guess that's why Soul attacked her. Like, I just, that's my problem, is, like, this is the foundation of the show. This is the foundation of the Acolyte, is this event. And now that we've seen this entire event, I don't understand how that pushes these characters the way that it pushes them. I just don't understand. So anyways, that's my initial rant. It was a little unorganized. We're going to go right down this list of things. So we talked about character motivations. I don't understand why Torben did what he did. I also don't get, like, why do the witches want children in the first place? I don't actually understand that plot thread, and it doesn't serve the story at all. Like, why does it have to be that these kids have to be brought in when every other person in this cult is an adult? It's a cult of adults. So why do kids have to be involved? And they never explain that. They never explain the reasoning for the Immaculate Conception bit. Like, why does that have to be a thing at all? And it's such a, I know this has been talked to death. This is me beating a dead horse, but it totally demeans Anakin's Immaculate Conception. Like, why does Qui-Gon make such a big deal about it in The Phantom Menace if the witches and every other Force user, or, like, whatever, if they can just create children with the Force, why is it a big deal? Like, why does Qui-Gon be like, oh, okay, this kid is the chosen one? Like, what makes him the chosen one if there's two other people that also did it? And the fact that it was twins is even more impressive than Anakin. Like, I just don't understand. I don't understand that, the thought process behind that. I don't understand what it does for the story. And then we find out that the kids are the virgins in the Force, okay? And that's what these Jedi are looking for. Why is Kelnaka looking for a Force virgins with a metal detector? Why is Soul using this Ghostbusters box to find artifacts and, like, put plants in his box? Like, why? Like, you're Jedi. Like, a Jedi would search for the Force, would look for a Force bump, you know, in the sphere, this realm of the Force, by, like, sticking his hand out, closing his eyes, maybe feeling for it. Like, why is he relying on a freaking metal detector, a Force detector? I don't understand what the thought process behind that was. Maybe that's why they were there for several weeks, because they were using metal detectors to try to find the Force. What? Like, I do not understand, bro. Not one bit. It boggles my mind. It makes zero sense. It's stupid looking. I don't understand. My biggest issue with the witch cult is the fact that they are on the light side. If this was a sect of Night Sisters, this whole conflict makes so much more sense. And Night Sisters were even brought up in this episode. So it's just wild to me that, and I get the idea is that the Jedi are supposed to be, you know, guarding the Force. Like, they're supposed to be, like, puppy guarding. That's the word I was looking for. Puppy guarding the Force, and they're the only ones that can kind of, you know, they dictate who can use it and who can't. But Night Sisters have been around since this time. I predicted that, and the Jedi confirmed it in this episode. If the witch cult was a sect of Night Sisters that had left Dathomir to start their own thing, it would explain why they wanted children, it would explain why the Jedi would have conflict with them, and it would also explain why the Jedi would want to save these kids, because they would be a byproduct of dark side. Like they would be raised to hate Jedi. So I just don't understand why Sol feels like he has to go out and save these kids in the first place, because they're not in danger. Like, why not? Why wouldn't he want to save the other women and turn them, turn them from the cult? Like, I don't understand what the main problem was. When Sol gets back and he goes with Torben and he goes and he is having the conversation with the witch, this is the most avoidable conflict I've ever seen in my life. First of all, I have no idea what that Dementor-looking thing was that Mother Anastasia did. I don't know what it was. They never explain it in the episode. She just starts looking really creepy, and her mouth gets really long, and she starts fading into this black, mist kind of thing, endgame-looking mist. And then Sol stabs her, rightfully so. That would freak me out too if I was standing right next to her. But what I don't get is after she gets stabbed, she's like, Osha wants to be a Jedi, blah, blah, blah. And she just spills her guts about what's actually happening with the real situation. Why didn't you just lead with that? I felt like Sol killed her and she did her whole thing because there had to be a reason for a misunderstanding. And it was just a situation that didn't make any sense. It's not like someone else told Sol later on, right after she was stabbed. She was just like, Osha wants to be a Jedi. She wants to go with you. So why are you stabbing me? What do you mean, why are you stabbing me? You just turned into a freaking Dementor. I would stab you too. And so I don't get that. Very avoidable conflict. Previously, Sol was the main character that I really enjoyed about the show. And now, I kind of like him less because I don't understand why he did what he did. And I don't even know if Leslie Headland understands why he did what he did. I don't get it. And then on top of that, all these Jedi blame themselves for this incident afterwards when, none of it was really their fault. Yes, Sol should not have really gone after the twins in the first place. They weren't in danger. Torben, he was really homesick, I guess, and he should not have gone rashly. Okay. But why are you so torn up about it? Torben probably only killed 2 people this whole episode, and Jedi kill people all the time. Watch the prequel trilogy. I mean, Obi-Wan is cutting people's arms off, left and right. Star Wars is the Wild West. So when someone dies, it's really not that big of a deal in the greater scale of the universe. It's not like if someone dies in our world, they go to trial and they go to court and all that stuff. That's really only if it's a major death. A Jedi can pretty much kill anyone they want, as long as it's not a political figure or anything like that. Because the Star Wars is the Wild West. So, I just don't get why they're so torn up about it. I don't get why Torben had to drink the poison. I don't get why, Sol didn't want to tell them the truth. And then in that scene where Sol goes back and he tries to save the girls from falling, he grabs onto the bridges with the Force to try to hold the girls. Why? Just grab the girls with the Force. Grab the twins. I don't understand why he's trying to hold up the entire structure. And I know the Force has nothing to do with lifting. It's all mental. But I can easily picture myself picking up twins, picking up children with the Force and lifting them, then trying to hold a giant collapsing bridge and trying to wrap my mind around every individual metal part that's breaking. In Jedi Fallen Order, when Marin comes in and she saves Callan Sear from Fortress Inquisitorius, right? And she breaks the glass and the water is bursting through. And Vader holds back the water. The reason that is so difficult for Vader to do is because when you're holding back something like that, you have to focus on every individual water molecule. You have to focus on every droplet to not let that water come in. It's not like you can just create this force field like he did against the lightsaber with Seer. It's not like that with holding the Force back with water. You have to envision every bit of that giant wave that's coming in to crush you. And the same thing would be said for like a bunch of mechanical parts on this bridge. So just grab the twins, Soul. And like, yeah, maybe that is something. Maybe that is why Soul blames himself. Is because he's like, yeah, I was really stupid. I should have just grabbed the twins with the Force. I don't get that either. That felt like something that was there because the twins needed to get split up at some point and May needed to join the dark side. Like, that situation was really poor writing. Soul is an experienced Jedi Master. Like, they are trained to think on a whim, to be on their freaking game all the time, especially in situations like this. Especially when his primary objective was save both twins. It's not like he went there just for Osha. Like, he wanted to save them both. So he just let one of them fall. I don't understand. And you know, like I said before, this episode really just makes me dislike the entirety of the Acolyte because episodes 3 and episode 7 are the flashback episodes. They are the catalyst events that drive all the characters and all of the story points forward for the series. You know, I really enjoyed episodes 4, 5, and 6. I thought they were really solid. Really enjoy Quamir and you know, his role as the Stranger and as a Darksider. I thought that was really good. But I like it a lot less because of the foundation it's built upon. This flashback sequence, it's really weak. It makes barely any sense at all. And it just sums up the way I feel about the Acolyte. Like, I don't know, man. It looks cool. You know, costumes are cool. Fights are cool. But at its core, it's a Wookiee with a metal detector. It's a beautiful Wookiee costume with these beautiful Jedi robes and this really cool lightsaber. And he looks great. But what is he doing? He's looking for the Force with a metal detector. The concept is really cool. It's really strong. The execution is, what the heck are we even doing? Wookiee with a metal detector is my metaphor for how I feel about the Acolyte. It's kind of ridiculous, but it makes a ton of sense in my head. So that's kind of all I have to say about the episode and the actual story point. I am not a fan of the Acolyte. I think I'm kind of done giving it any more chances. We have one episode left, and I have no idea how it's going to wrap up anything to do with Osha or May. And honestly, like, their story points really haven't developed in a satisfying way either. I thought it was interesting that, like, Osha put the helmet on and May is now in the hands of the Jedi. They've kind of switched places, but why? I feel like there was a whole episode that needed to happen with that, you know. And again, like, the formatting of the show is just whack. Like, why are we learning about our character motivations, you know, in the second to last episode of the series? I mean, imagine watching Breaking Bad and finding out why Walter White is doing what he's doing this entire show, or even just the entire first season. I mean, Walter changes so much in that first season. And I know I'm comparing The Acolyte to the greatest show of all time, Breaking Bad. But this is the reason why it's the greatest show of all time. It's because it nails the basics of a character arc, of development, of story progression. And if we never found out why Walter White does what he does in the entirety of season 1 until the second to last episode, we'd be like, what is even happening right now? Like, this guy was a nice chemistry teacher. You know, he's a family man. Why is he doing what he's doing? Like, if we didn't get all those little nuggets about Hank kind of being a jerk to him and him feeling like, you know, like a weak father to his son, and and Walter Jr. kind of, you know, saying he's not a real man and not a good dad and all that stuff. And, like, if we never got all those little bit of context clues as to why Walter is becoming what he's becoming, you know, like, if we didn't find out that Walter has cancer until the second to last episode, you know what I mean? Like, that's the big thing. And this episode was supposed to be the big thing. And 1, it happened way too late, and 2, it was not satisfying whatsoever. And then that gets me to the credits song. Wow. Like, I felt like I was watching Black Panther or like Spider-Verse, and I love those movies. Don't get me wrong. Dude, Spider-Man is like only second to Star Wars in my heart. I freaking love Spider-Man. I love Miles. I love the Spider-Verse movies. I love all that stuff. But Star Wars is not into the Spider-Verse. And I'm, like I said before, I'm down for trying new things. I'm down for all that stuff. But the episode ends on a really somber note. You know, it's supposed to be sad. I didn't really feel anything. It's supposed to be sad. And then we go into this song, you know, that's kind of like Post Malone's next big hit. I mean, he's country singer now, but like Post Malone's like next big hit. Like, I don't get it. Like, it sounded like Rihanna just like kind of came in and started singing about Star Wars stuff. Like, I don't understand. One, it messed with the tone of the episode, and two, I started laughing. I kid you not. I started laughing at the credits because it was just so out of pocket. And I'm dumbfounded. That being said, I'm done. I'm done ranting about the Acolyte. This podcast episode is going to be all over the place. This YouTube video is going to be all over the place. I hope you're able to keep up. We're going to go into mail-ins. This one's from Samuel Masson, titled, What? Hello there, General Kenobi. Hope you're keeping well, Wes, as long as... sorry, I'm bad at reading. Hope you're keeping well, Wes, as well as can be expected after this week's episode. Where do I start? This episode completely threw me off the series. I was enjoying it. We were slowly building up, but the episode was basically episode 3 with a couple extra scenes. The actions and choices of characters baffled me. Why Soul took out the mother was bizarre, and Endara taking out the entire group was very un-Jedi-like. Surely there was a better way around that. So, Sam seems to think that Endara took him out. I feel like they feinted like Luke force projection style, but that's the issue, is like, I don't understand why anything happened the way that it happened. The character I was most excited to see before the show dropped was Kel Naka, and he wasn't given anything, and when he was given something, it wasn't even him in control. It's such a shame. We only have one episode left, and we have so much to cover. This series ends in 2 ways. 1, the last episode is in fact the last, and everything is crammed in or answered badly. And 2, a second series is made to continue the story, but with the way the series has gone, I can't see that happening. And don't get me started on the end credit music. I was confused at first when the singing came in. I've never closed an episode so quick. Such a bizarre and strange choice. I don't understand it. Same, it doesn't fit the tone of the episode, and it doesn't fit Star Wars like at all. Like, one of the big things with credit music is it's supposed to showcase the composer's abilities and like, you know, to either match the tone of the episode and kind of play up, because it doesn't have to match what's going on in the show. Like, a good soundtrack is able to kind of make you feel a certain way without realizing that it's the music and the visuals combined doing it. Like, you don't want your soundtrack to overpower, but you also don't want it to be nothing, because you still want your audience to feel something. So when the credits roll, like, the composer's supposed to start flexing because it's just credits. Like, you're supposed to listen and enjoy the music. And I was just completely thrown off by it. And on top of that, like, I can't name one musical score from The Acolyte. I can't give you anything. Like, not even the title card. Like, I had Andor's title card music, like, I was humming it throughout my day because of how good it is, but also because it played before each episode, and I was like, I remembered it so well. Same thing with The Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett. Like, their intros are so memorable, but also their music is great, and it makes you feel a certain way, regardless of the way you feel about those shows. And The Acolyte, I can't even tell you how the intro theme goes. Like, the music for this show is so mediocre, and then they throw in something like that, and I'm just beyond confused. Anyways, trying to get some more lighthearted Star Wars content, here's this week's question. You may have answered this before, so apologies if you have. What franchise would you personally like to cross over with Star Wars? I know there's a comic where Indiana Jones finds the Millennium Falcon and Chewbacca is Bigfoot, but curious to see what you think. I don't really want any crossovers personally. I do think that comic is cool. But I don't really want any crossovers. Also, have you been on Helldivers recently? Pretty sure the automations have plans with a large battle station similar to the Death Star. Democracy needs you, brother. I have not played Helldivers recently. I actually got this game called Dave the Diver, and I've yet to play it, but it seems like the most chill, relaxed. Like, the story is you're this diver, and you have a sushi restaurant, and you're a diver by day and a sushi restaurant owner by night. And you go and you catch fish, and then you bring them back to your sushi restaurant, you cook them up, you serve them. That's the whole game. And so, and the soundtrack's actually really good. Meme time. Okay. It's The Undertaker standing behind some other, I don't know that wrestler's name, but excited to carry on the Acolyte. Episode 7. Very true. It sums up my feelings for this series pretty well. I could care less what happens in the finale. I doubt it will be good. Sam, thanks for mailing in, bro. Appreciate the weekly mail-ins. You keep the mail-in segment going. I super appreciate that. And thank you for listening and watching this episode of the Cal Westis Podcast. Wish we could be here on a little bit more positive terms, but that's not the role of this podcast. The role of this podcast is to cover Star Wars news, and for me to give my raw, unfiltered takes on things. So here we are. Also, we do post weekly on the actual podcast, so go and follow the Cal Westis Podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and I think it's on a couple other platforms, but like those are the two main ones. Just look up the Cal Westis Podcast and give it a follow. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day and week, and I will see you next time. May the Force be with you, always.